In this video tutorial, we're on the iPad, in this case the iPad Air 2, and I wanted to cover a thing showing you the iPad version of the tutorials. I want to point out that this iPad on Xcode, when I'm reviewing it, it doesn't do a good job of replicating text. It'll look different on the actual iPad or iPhone. So we're kind of dealing with that situation here. The first thing I want to point out is that although it looks exactly the same as far as the text is concerned and everything works exactly the same as the prior videos, there are obviously some changes on the iPad. For example, when I go to this screen and I click on something like saying we get the scrollers, and the scrollers, you've used them on the iPads and iPhones before, so you should know how to use those now. And basically you just scroll them and let go, and that's what goes into the space. So for example, if I pull down and go to the 18th, it automatically changes that. So let's go ahead and I'm going to re-put it back in where it was. Basically, the other things that are different, as you can see, it's kind of really scanty, hard to see in this simulation on Xcode. So if you're looking at the application and you want to see anything that is a major change, it would probably be something like when you look at videos. I hadn't shown this before. I wanted to show this on the iPad. It looks different, works different. Actually, what's going on here is that the iPad actually launches it with this screen looking like this, and you can run it from here. What you need to do is you need to click on and highlight the item that you want to view, and then click the Start button. And then what it's going to do, it's going to change the way it looks, and I wanted to point this out. When you come into this screen and you're watching the tutorial videos, I'm going to go ahead and stop it, and I want to show you what we're going to do. Closed caption is not necessary to worry about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the gear, and it says that it's 360, and what we want to do is change that to 720 HD. Let's make sure that that's what it's got. Yep, 720 HD. And then if you want to start the next video, you click on the video that you want to view. You can use all these things here, like go forward and reverse and flip and all those kind of things if you want to use those. And then you can go ahead and pop out the screen so you can see it at full view when you're looking at the tutorials. Obviously, you use this to go ahead and restart it. And it'll take a second because what it's doing is it's resetting to 720 HD. So you're going to see when you look over here that it's now running in high definition. And that's important so that you can actually see what it actually looks like. I'm going to let it run for a second. And the reason I'm doing that is so you can see the difference between this. Let's go ahead. I'm going to pop up here. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm actually showing that you can see the clarity is a little bit better as far as the actual way it's going to look on the iPad. In fact, you can see this is fairly clear. Let's go out of here, and the way we do that is just simply drop back down. And if you have any other questions about using this on the YouTube videos, you can go ahead and contact us on the chat on our technical support line at ontargetsolutions.biz on any web browser. Okay. If you wanted to, you could log out from here by clicking this. What the logout will do is it'll close this application if you're on a browser or on an iOS device. iOS device rather. It'll log out of here and close the application so you can put another application up and run it as far as any other device installed items that you have. Okay, going back over here, I'm just going to go in and show you what a list view might look like in this. It looks a little clearer as far as this screen is concerned, but it still kind of scrubs the text. And like I said, this will not look like this on the actual device that you're working with. Okay, now with this application too, I'll recall here that you cannot import anything, but what I wanted to show in here is what it looks like when you actually have an export record. If you go into export, you have some choices as far as what you can do as far as export is concerned. And what you have to do is click in the using layout formatting if you want to. You can pick the fields that you want by clicking here and going down through if you're going to export, and pick those fields that you want to export. And then we'll go back. Say done in here. As far as the type of file that you're using, it says CSV right now, but you'd have to change that to something other than that you want. In this particular case, if I click on the actual name, that's what I'm going. Here it is. This is where we want to go. You can use comma separated, which is what we're doing now as far as CSV. DBase, which is probably not that useful. Excel is the most commonly used. Everybody can use Excel and modify it. Tab separated is also a good approach. And merge is a merge file for word processors. And very few people use HTML unless they're doing something like a PHP application and they want to use data out of this to go to a PHP application. So let's go back. And if you continue, it's going to go ahead and it says error. And the reason for that is that we're on the simulator and it's not going to work on this. But what I wanted to point out here is that you can use any application, things that you have installed on your iPad or iPhone to do other things with the application as far as Slick. For example, you could send it by email and do a number of different things as far as just like you always do. And you can also click more and add things, and the same thing up here. It's just like if you're using you're using your own iPad. Whatever's installed on your iPad that has recognizable other devices or applications, you can go ahead and use that because it'll all be here. In the simulator, it's not going to identify or show those. So let's go ahead and cancel out of here. I'm going to go back in now. What we're going to look at is the print screen. In the print screen, there's a number of different things. The first thing is we showed you before that you can print the current record or the found set. Current record is only going to show you the records that you're looking at on the screen. For example, if I highlight a row here, that's all it's going to print. If I have a found set, it's going to take everything that's in the current selection and print that. So if you're looking at a screen, either this in a list view or on another screen where you have something like an invoice or something like that, it will print the 8.5 by 11 on this side of the page. And that's the way they're set up, so you can print them that way if you had an invoice. In this case, we don't have any invoices in this application. But nevertheless, that's what you do. Don't worry about any of these things down here. They're not being used. The next thing is the page numbering. You can go from and to with a comma in the middle, and you can print pages. Now, that's not really relevant in the way we're doing things here. You could either use a page range, and in most cases when you're using the current record, it's only going to put one page on the screen and print it. If you're using something like the entire listing in a list view, it will print all the pages, or you can pick like print the page range from page 1 to page 2 or whatever. All pages is set at this current time. Paper size, pretty universal. Plus you can add more where you can actually change the screens or the size. We're going to do that on paper size. 10 by 11 inch is kind of an odd one. 15 by 11, I don't think I've ever seen that. 9 by 11. Just some really odd different pages. Well, if you go down, you can see that there's a lot more. So you can pick through what you want to see, B2 and everything. So there's a lot of different page sizes. You can even do legal, A4, A5, envelope, and tabloid. And then you can say more, and that's where we were over here where you can do A2 and all this other stuff. Okay, let's go back to the print setup again. You can do orientation in landscape or portrait. Now this is very important because some screens, like a list view, you may want to put those into landscape so you can capture something all the way to the right-hand side of the page. Scale, this is very important if you have a laser printer or any printer that can scale as far as size of the print. You could use this, and when you click on it, you can see 25 through size to fit, or you can put in a custom size. I like to, on my laser printer, to print roughly about 70% on certain things that are hard to print. The only way to test that is to go ahead and actually work with the actual printing. Now, I want to point out that when you're doing 8.5 by 11 page, that's the standard one for forms that were actually added to the application. So when you're printing an orientation in portrait, it will capture the right area on the screen. Otherwise, it's going to block it down and maybe a shorter print, and you'll get several pages when you would probably only have a few if you did it in portrait. One of the things I really like in this one too is you can do the PDF as far as, not PDF, but the scaling size in dots per inch, and also PDF. Now PDF is really interesting, and then it allows you to print to screen. For example, if I say continue, it's going to give me the options. And of course, I didn't have those for options because I'm still on the simulator. If your printer has a setup to go ahead and do options, then you would see those options. And they could print. I showed it on the other thing where we had a whole list of different ways to use PDFs. Uh, but there's also email as well. So if you wanted to email a PDF, as far as print is concerned, you click this and it will allow you to email. Now in this case, it's just showing PDF and the actual screen here. And also when you're printing too, you can also print to when you have the thing off the simulator, it'll allow you to print to screen or print an email. And what an email does is it'll show you a header so you can add where you're sending it and so forth, and then you can go ahead and send it with including the screen that you're looking at on an email. So that's how that works. If I go to print, it's just going to print, but of course on the simulator, it's not going to be able to do that. Okay, so let's go back here and go back to the main data screen. And what I want to point out is I'm just going to show you. If you go to print, it's going to take everything across to about here on the screen and drop it down. So it would print this area. In landscape, obviously it's going to come down. It's going to cut off and take about this amount of the screen and maybe a little bit more. You can print preview with your printer because I can't do it in the simulator, but you can, so you can see what the screen actually looks like and what portion of the screen is going to print. And if you need to, you can scale it if you wanted to get as much more in there as you possibly want. Okay, once again, we do log out from here. If you click this, it's going to cease to and exit the application, and then you'll be out of it. The same thing on if you're using FMGo on the iPad, we're using a custom designed app. It works the same way where you log out and you can click this and it'll log off and put you back to the main screen. Okay, if you have any questions or you need more assistance, you can always contact us through the website for technical support. Thank you.